Did she go to the London School of Electrical Engineering? Let's check in with Rachel.
Well, I'm an economist. I studied economics. I got a master's in economics from the London School of Economics, and I worked as an economist at the Bank of England.
Okay, all right, Rach. So how are you going with running the economy? Not going too well, really. The Sun this morning, Harry Cole's column, says Rachel with an axe is in poo corner. Harry Cole is here with us. Harry, very good morning to you.
Morning, how we doing?
Yeah, we're doing a lot better than Rachel Reeves, I think you'll find. She was given pretty much short shrift on all the shows that she appeared on yesterday, and I'm afraid she's still under pressure this morning from an awful lot of newspapers who are saying, well, you know, what are you going to say on Wednesday? And I mean, your piece as well, saying confidence is down, sackings have begun, expansion plans have been snuffed out, and that's before the new workers' rights laws make hiring even trickier. And that's the current economic sort of environment is not good, is it?
Well, yeah, no, Rachel Reeves took a big old gamble last July that this mythical growth was going to save her. She whacked 40 billion quid's worth of taxes on the country, namely on employers, rather than city fat cats. People actually employ people in this country, down from family restaurants and small firms of a dozen people, and startups in this country, which we're meant to be sort of heralding, and then obviously the big employers as well, all going to be basically paying 1/7 extra on every single employee they have come April the 6th, I think it kicks in, or maybe April the 2nd, either one. But new tax year next month. Now that's the pain of October's budget hasn't yet really kicked in,
right.
And growth has been downgraded. We think it's going to be halved, the growth predictions by the OBR. Now look, the OBR don't get their predictions spot on, and they're often just sort of playing darts in the dark. But the general direction of travel isn't great. Bank of England says that growth this year will be 0.75%. Well, of course it's going to be like that, because they spent 6 months trashing the country, almost talking us into recession. Then they hit us with a 40 billion pounds worth of tax rises, of 25 billion directly on people who employ people in this country. And then they go, oh gosh, look, growth's down. And she's going to try and blame, the New World Order and Donald Trump's tariffs. But frankly, I suspect everyone in the House of Commons will be saying, even on her own side, hang on, this is kind of our fault.
Yeah.
So the whole gamble, the whole plan when Labour came into power was they would get growth going so they wouldn't have to cut the size of the state. Now, commendably, Reeves is holding off from pressure from Labour MPs, from the Treasury, to put taxes up again. She's holding out on pressure mainly because she knows she can't borrow any more money because the markets won't wear it. And look, we're going to hear austerity in the screamed top of lungs for the next few months. But the Treasury points out, look, it's not really austerity when we're spending £1.4 trillion a year. That is what government spending is forecast to hit in 2027. 1.4 trillion. How is that austerity? How is that sustainable? So she's got to get the axe out. And look, she's a Labour Chancellor. That's probably not what she imagined her chancellorship would be. But she's got to reduce the size of the state, and that's going to be a massive headache for her.
And she's got to surely start taking fewer freebies, hasn't she? Because she's got herself into a whole load of trouble getting tickets for free to go and see Sabrina Carpenter. I mean, surely to heavens you would have thought, if you're Keir Starmer, you say to your senior cabinet colleagues, look, whatever you do, while we're slashing and burning, taking money off disabled people, taking money off pensioners, taking money off farmers, taking money away from people on benefits and on PIP and all the rest of it, whatever you do, don't be seen doing something that might look bad, and this looks bad.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what she was doing. That row obviously dominated the early days of the Labour government, right, when it seemed to be the whole lot of them seemed to be boogieing to Taylor Swift and giving Swiftie Taylor Swift favours, to giving a motor school escorts, all that stuff. I thought that had all gone away. I thought they'd sort of got a grip on that, but clearly not.
Apparently
I mean, the sums we're talking about are fairly nominal, but optically, you're the Chancellor, you're going to get your axe out. I can't see how she walked into that one.
No, exactly right. And also, the axe may well be made of polystyrene as opposed to actual metal, because I was talking to Dave Penman earlier from one of the big civil service unions. He seems very relaxed.
What a remarkable turnaround. One of the most obnoxious, I'm not going to use a rude word at this time of the morning, one of the most pugnacious people in public life for the last 15 years, and he's now going, yeah, all right, we'll slash the state. I
Yeah.
mean, unbelievable.
But I think the reason he's doing that is because he knows it won't happen, because it's been pointed out to me since I spoke to him that we're looking at a sort of 15% reduction over 5 years, which in effect is 3% a year, which is in effect natural wastage, which is in effect not really slashing the civil service at all. And I think that's why he realises that this is yet another sort of Labour promise, which is not quite what it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, I mean, look at the benefit reforms set out last week as well. You know, 6 billion cuts, six or so billion quid worth of cuts to benefits. But again, forecast to hit £70 billion of public spending by the end of this decade. You know, this is tinkering stuff. I think there will be some quite significant reductions in the size of Whitehall budgets in the coming months. Obviously, she's going to sort of set the direction of travel of that on Wednesday, and then they're all the departments go into negotiations in the run up to the spending review this summer. I think will be sort of in June, just before the sort of summer break, when we'll actually get the details. But they're not disputing the fact that, you know, some departments have been asked to find 11% cuts. Now, if that's frontline policing and things like that, or the court system, which is already, you know, so backlogged that, you know, trials are delayed for 3 years already as it is, that's going to be really quite painful. Everything's ring fenced in defence and health, obviously, but the rest of it's kind of fair game. Now, 11%, that's quite significant. Now, I don't think that would be 11% across the board. But there is fat to be found there. But again, is it going to make a huge amount of difference when we're spending so much on the NHS, we're spending so much on benefits, and they've just vowed to increase defence spending to 2.5% of GDP. Now, I don't like to think it, but the quickest way to get defence spending to 2.5 GDP is make GDP smaller. But I don't think that's exactly their plan. They are going to have to find extra money from there. So it's very much moving very small deck chairs around, you know, a very expensive ship.
It is really. And talking of very expensive ships, I mean, I should have credited you earlier with the submarine story.
I enjoy that one. I
did. I really like that one. Yeah, particularly because of the fact that Donald Trump reads the New York Times because he hates it so much. But I mean, it's not been a great weekend for Starmer. He was dissed by Donald Trump's chief negotiator with Putin, who more or less said that he was a sort of plastic soldier wandering around trying to pretend to be Winston Churchill, and the whole British plan was a kind of load of crock of nonsense.
Well, look, I mean, Steve Witkoff's the Trump's negotiator is, you know, he made some fairly dubious claims this weekend about how it all works in the world. But I think that one will jar a little bit for the Prime Minister, because there is a resonance of truth. The coalition of willing, as he's trying to put out, turns out not to be that willing.
Right.
And that's a problem, because, you know, it's just us and France at the moment that have pledged troops. Between us, we probably can, I don't think we're going to get anywhere near the sort of 30,000 troops that were required to keep peace in a frontline region the size and scale of the Ukrainian-Russian front lines. And frankly, there's not a peace deal to enforce at the moment. This was always the problem. This is why the Americans were getting quite frustrated earlier a few weeks ago, is that, look, we're all talking about American backstops and American, you know, and enforcing the peace deal. There is no peace deal to enforce. We've got to get the deal first, and then we can work out, you know, almost enforcing it is the easier bit. Getting the Russians to the table is the harder bit. And I think that's proving to be increasingly difficult. And I think that's why we're seeing some of these sort of outbursts a little bit from Trump and the people around him, is that actually, has the president bitten off more than he can chew here? He promised to get a peace deal within a week, then in 24 hours, and then it was in the first term. And now it's looking like further and further forever. We're seeing they got the Ukrainians to take the knee essentially and say, yes, they will accept an unconditional ceasefire. And the Russians have laughed in their face and sent the drones back over the border to kill and maim more Ukrainians. And, you know, these talks that are happening in the Middle East this week are essentially tinkering. They're saying, oh, we'll find a way of having a short ceasefire around energy supply. Well, that's nothing compared to the scale of the land war that Russia is engaging with Ukraine on. And the problem is that, yeah, it's all very well for Starmer to say, yes, we'll enforce the peace, but it doesn't even look like he's actually getting that much progress on that. And again, it comes down to that nub. Peacekeepers for what peace deal? Until there's a peace deal, I think everything else is basically posturing.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what the problem was from the American side. But great to see you, Harry. Thank you very much indeed. Harry Cole, police editor at The Sun, column in there today, page 10 every single Monday as well.